Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and I'm so happy today because I'm going to be talking to someone who has given us the gift of this book, which is Raaz Mahal, A Palace of Secrets. And what is Neal Nathan dealing here with the word Raaz Mahal, which is taking us to history of Taj Mahal also. So let me first of all congratulate and welcome this gentleman with us. Neil Nathan, welcome, sir. Namaste.
Thank you, Ashok, and greetings to your viewers as well.
And as I was mentioning about your book, we will talk about the name of the book, but also your original name is something else. This is your pen name, correct?
That is correct. My name is GD Mohrir, and Neil Nathan is my pen name. Yeah.
Wonderful. So now let's begin with the name first and moving towards the name of the book. When I was reading the title, first I just read it like Taj Mahal, and then I realized it is not Taj. And then as I was going through this wonderful users or readers friendly book, which kind of won't let you put it down. It's such a great thriller. So talk to me about how the name from Taj Mahal to Raj Mahal and something about when you started thinking of writing this novel.
Okay, so let's start with the name of the book. Name of the book is Raaz Mahal, the Palace of Secrets. Raz is a Persian word, of course, adapted into Hindi and other languages also, which means a secret. Mahal is also a word that is used in Indian languages as well as Middle Eastern languages, which means a palace or a dwelling. So Raj Mahal essentially makes it kind of a Persian name, but that's why we have the subtitle, The Palace of Secrets. So Raz and Mahal, palace and secret. So it kind of, and Raj Mahal rhymes with Taj Mahal. So it is about the Taj Mahal, and Raj Mahal is the Palace of Secrets. So for international audience, I wanted to add an English name as well, and that's why we have this name.
So let me share a clip of sort which kind of is introductory of your book and where did it go? Yeah. I'm actually stopping it here just to seek your response when someone like Ferry Sagnier, author of Dope, refers to you and says that may well be the Dan Brown of the Indian subcontinent. That's a great compliment, I think. How that made you feel?
No, it's interesting, and it's definitely a compliment. Although I am a big fan of Dan Brown, definitely. And when Terry actually read the novel, he was my beta reader. He was also one of my editors. Um, that was his um, honest comment that when he was reading it, it felt that as if he was reading a Dan Brown novel. So I take it as a compliment.
Indeed, it is. And of course, we will talk more in detail about when you write a novel with which is graphic in descriptions that requires a lot of research. So we'll learn how that process happened in your case, and then it's of course a captivating mystery. Let's look at more of it. So I like the expression "Oh my God" moments. Now let's with these questions which were seen by our viewers. I think they are equally curious, intensely interested in learning about some outlines of the book. And as I was requesting you to share why novel, this has not been your main focus, and you have been in the business of consultancy and other areas. So, is it your debut novel?
Yes, it is my first novel, and let's hope there will be more.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now, what gave you the idea of looking at Taj Mahal as the main backdrop of this novel?
Um, sure. A few years ago, and I'll say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I came across some, very interesting references to Taj Mahal again in the public domain. It piqued my curiosity. I started looking at that reference and started, digging for a little bit further. One reference after another reference, another document. It really, piqued my curiosity and went on digging for references. Um, After maybe a year's research, I had an interesting collection of maybe about 20, 25, very interesting references. And again, public domain, but maybe public really doesn't know, and I didn't know about them. And after collecting those references, I started sharing those with my family and friends. Hey, this is an interesting collection of references that tells me an interesting story. And the thought came as to what do we do with this? Maybe write some kind of a research paper or a thesis, but maybe that will be too dry. So the suggestion
Le-
was,
Yeah,
yeah,
if I may interrupt you,
yeah.
let's say if I'm sitting with you those days when this process is a part of your experience and you are interested and you are curious, and so what are the one two things that you tell me to arouse my interest in this narration?
Sure. So there are, as I said, there are many references, and I'll give you a couple of references. And again, I'm going to keep some of them as secret because they are part of the story. But so I'm going to tell you about the topics of those research, but not exactly what those outcomes were. For example, um, uh, in year 1627, about 2 to 3 years before Taj Mahal, Shah Jahan's wife Mumtaz, or as we call her Mumtaz, died, there was a Dutch traveler. His name is Belsart. And he saw something very interesting between the Agra fort and Taj Mahal. What did he see there? So I'm going to not tell you what he saw, but he saw and very interesting. So that's kind of one reference. In 1632, Peter Mundy, an English traveler, well, he was actually he used to work on the outpost. Maybe he was an officer. So in 1632 itself, he made an interesting observation about a very great places to visit in Agra. So this is in 1632, just 1 year after Mumtaz died. So what was that place? Again, I'm not going to tell you what he really meant to say, but that's another example. Um, I'll maybe tell another reference by another traveler, Manrique. He was a monk. He was a Portuguese monk, and he was traveling. Um, so in 1640, when he visited Agra, what did he saw? At was what that was going on in that area. Again, what he saw, I'm not going to tell you, but those are some of the references, as well as the references by other travelers such as Tavernier, uh, on whose observation the story of the Taj Mahal is based. So what did really Tavernier observe? Again, you have to read the novel.
So I think that is the craftsmanship of Neil, which keeps you glued to the book. But before that, I'm also trying to gather more from you for our readers, and from for that, uh, the perspective of using Taj Mahal as a backdrop. makes that building also as a part of sort of a character, but uh, and that gives you a lot of scope to play in terms of the way you tell your story. But can you tell a little bit about the main characters, which are very well developed, and how they came to you? And uh, let's say you are walking and you are thinking, or you are writing, and the character is speaking to you about the main protagonist. And if I may add, the opening scene of the book is also very interesting. It's like a suspensive novel, and you have pitch darkness and some suggestive light that is shimmering through words of Neal. How eh, this kind of building of the palace of in the form of your book emerged in your mind?
That's a great question, and probably the answer is going to be a little bit long. So as I was explaining, the process earlier. So after collecting the research, what do we do with this? And the thought came up that okay, we should probably write a novel around it. Uh, and then so it took a while, took some time and effort to sort of formulate a story around it, and then how I will be able to sort of weave in the evidence that I've gathered so far. But then now when it comes to story, um, one has to think about the impact on the audience and on the readers, as to when the reader is going to be reading the story. It has to be very appealing, it has to be very very fluid, fast moving. That's why I probably mentioned Dan Brown, the way his novels are structured, or maybe even Jeffrey Archer's novel, how they are structured. They're very fast moving novels. So that was kind of the goal. And now you had to come up with characters that will be able to talk to the evidence that I'm talking about. So the goal was to have characters that they talk about the evidence, or maybe they counter the evidence, they deny, or they support, or they have a completely different perspective on what the situation is. So wanted to have a sort of a set of characters which is small but very, very connected to the story. So you will see, as you have read the novel, there may be a main six or seven characters, and the story revolves around them.
Yeah. So,
Um,
yeah, let me interrupt you to request you, and I lead the review few lines, and then we'll go to Vijay Kumar.
yeah.
So, uh, it says Nathan uses the existing controversies surrounding the Taj Mahal's purpose and construction and turns them into a surprising, exciting conspiracy thriller. Reluctant hero Vijay Kumar is asked by the Bureau of Archaeology to fulfill a bureaucratic request to provide specific data regarding the Taj Mahal, as the government of India has never conducted a full scale official survey. And it goes on. And the directives separate from the legend working in Agra. Kumar has to navigate the request with his team, which includes a UNESCO intern translator Sonia, tech wizard Samir, and grumpy local expert Chand Malik. Vijay is established as a brilliant and out of the box thinker regarding ancient sites, making him crucial when the job grows more complex, involving a break in at the Taj Mahal, a spare of mysterious murders, and a chase for a key research report that cost its original author his life decades earlier. So I read this whole thing because this gives some idea to our viewers about the way it is flowing. But now I'm requesting you to let's look at Vijay Kumar's character. So here is a character with a task given in his hand by author Neil Nathan for my sake. Now he asks you, Vijay Kumar, what are the tools that you are gifting me with? How will I navigate the puzzle, and how will I move forward? So, was there any interaction with the author Neil and some of the characters? I just mentioned about Vijay, probably Sonia also was seeking your attention that she needed this, etc. So, talk to us about your creative process on this front of characterization.
um, sure. So Vijay Kumar is, of course, the protagonist, and I had to think about, what kind of protagonist I want in this story. Is it a typical hero type character that you see in some of the movies, Bollywood movies, Hollywood movies, or something different? And I wanted to have a character that is kind of neutral. Neutral. It arrives on the scene as a neutral character. That means they don't have a stake in the game one way or the other. Somebody who has a rational mindset, somebody who follows logic, uh, uh, because that's the task that is expected in this story when the RTI petition comes and the evidence behind the Taj Mahal is requested. Um, it's it's the people who have not been involved in the story of the Taj Mahal is what is needed for the story. And then, of course, Vijay Kumar has his style. He has his personalities. He has his past. But even though with all his failings or shortcomings of personalities, how that would sort of help navigate the story and his steps going forward, what was really crucial. Um, so the way he formulates the question, the way he looks at the evidence, but at the same time, he's also open to ideas. He's not a closed-minded person either. So he does want his to work with his team, get their input, try to understand. But one thing is clear that Vijay Kumar is extremely focused. That means once he gets to certain pieces of evidence, he's going to dig into that. But at the same time, and without revealing much, um, he leaves certain things to his supervisors and his superiors. This is what my findings are, and then now you decide.
So, Neil, I must compliment you. You are a master craftsman, and it doesn't come across as your first novel. Looks like you have been at this craft for many, many years, or at least
Thank you.
it was brewing in your mind that one day you will be writing a novel or something. So, and in the limited time that we have, I also want to bring to attention of our viewers that you are dealing here with supernaturals. You are also involving some action sequence, but at the same time you are portraying it as a with the basis of scientific inquiry. So science and supernatural also many times do not go together very well. How was it for you to sort of weave these two different kind of sides of life?
Um, yeah, and again, all of this primarily happens via Vijay Kumar. So once we establish Vijay Kumar as a logical, rational-minded person, we have to think about the reader. Some will appreciate, this logical, rational-minded person, but at the same time, readers need to be enticed with, and the story has to appeal to the reader uh, as a story also, as a fiction, something that has to fascinate the reader. It has to catch his attention, draw his attention, pin him down to the story. So from that standpoint, it took a while for me to think through the process. That means on one side we're going to have sort of a rational minded person, but you had to use some kind of a counterintuitive infusion of the story, such as the supernatural that we are talking about, which really blends and creates a very interesting balance, in my opinion. And some readers have expressed the same thing, that and the review that you are talking about is the on one hand you have the supernatural, and on the other hand you have the logical, rational-minded person, digging through the evidences. So I think it creates a very interesting balance. That was my attempt, and I think the readers have liked it.
Actually, there have been many, many readers whose comments are kind of matching with each other, and I'll just read one of them. Dr. SP writes, "It is an absolute gripping thriller. I'm amazed by the research and attention to details gone into the writing. Questionable history, when combined with a thriller, becomes a perfect adrenaline cocktail for the readers. I enjoyed the ride along every chapter." And I think that is the experience which makes this novel very special. And at the same time, as while I was reading about the review, I mentioned about some controversies surrounding Taj Mahal, and so, and of course, there are some political currents associated with the place also. Were you cognizant that if you deviate more from some track which is based on the research and which is solid and which would not generate some additional controversy through your book, uh, was some uh, awareness on this part also part of your writing?
I don't know whether to call it awareness, but yes, in general, I think everybody who reads around the happenings around India or history or Taj Mahal is generally aware. There is adequate material about Taj Mahal story also available on the web, and people have pitched in different opinions. So from that standpoint, yes, I was aware, and in a way, you're right. Um, because once you start entering into those controversies, the story could go in different direction. So I had to sort of bring the story back to the focus as to what is the task on the hand, which is the RTI petition asked for, which is the evidence behind the current story of the Taj Mahal. So, so yes, to answer your question, I wanted to sort of stay away and not to weave in the other controversies, but stay focused on the sort of a task that will appeal to a logical and rational minded protagonist.
So I always feel that a writer is like someone who is polishing diamond. So you need to know how the edges would ultimately look or give the feel. So just to give an idea to a reader, I'm just reading a random two three lines from any page. So let us say I opened the, it just came near the closing. I won't go that last. So this is page number 232. I just opened it at random, leading two three lines just to give a feel to our readers. The BOA man now appeared in sight, looking at Vijay disapprovingly. If I may ask, who sent you, sir? The staff asked firmly. I work with Superintendent Chopra. Is there a problem? All right, but hope you didn't go beyond the no entry sign. What beyond the sign? So it goes on. What I wanted to convey is your style of writing dialogues and different um, should I say, different pieces of the puzzle, and placing them in such an orderly fashion requires some sort of a top view as a writer to kind of see where which will fit in pattern. And it must have been very complex, I feel. How was it to place them and generate a sense of harmony where you also feel satisfied that you could do justice to the different pieces that you have created, that they have fallen in place?
So I'll answer the latter part of the question first, and I'll say yes. I was satisfied. I mean, and I will say I had to be satisfied before I published the novel, and I had to sort of disengage myself and start looking at what is out there, what I've written, and then talking about various pieces that are of the puzzle. Are they really gelling together or not? I mean, are there sort of loose ends or not? And have I covered everything that is really necessary or needed to sort of complete the story or not? Because there could be a tendency to leave some threads unattended, left untangled. Um, so sort of com- getting the story to make sure that the pieces of the puzzle really fit together. Yeah, it was an effort, and it's a process that is kind of difficult to explain. I will say I started putting together a storyline first, without even thinking of whether there will be a novel or not. So the story, I started putting together the story, but before I started putting the story, I made sure that I waited till my sort of the analysis and the evidence, everything gelled together and they kind of click together. I was in no rush, and I waited till that point, and then only I started putting together storyline. But something happened. Something, I'll say, I have to use the word magic here. Once I started writing the storyline, I just did not stop. I mean, I thought I'll write a 2 or 3 pager storyline that maybe later on can be evolved. But that 2 or 3 pager just kept on growing, and lo and behold, after 6 to 7 months or maybe 8 months, I had the first draft of the novel.
So
But
now,
yes, but each time I had to make sure that the pieces of puzzle. So it's interesting, and if I may add, that by profession I'm an engineer, I'm a consultant, I've done IT consulting. So in some ways, I could bring that flavor to verify whether the pieces of puzzle are really fitting together or not.
So what makes it even more interesting on a different level is that you, based in Washington D.C., finding yourself interested in Taj Mahal, getting into extensive research, coming up with this novel, which probably we are going to see in the form of a movie down the line. Also, one gets a feel while reading it. Taj Mahal primarily always considered to be an expression of love, and you have not taken it as per traditional image of Taj Mahal. You have given it a different twist. Was that also conscious? Conscious.
Well, it's a part of the story, and as far as uh, the love story or the fantasy is concerned, uh, it does surface in the story in 1 or 2 places, where when Dr. Mathur starts questioning Vijay Kumar and his approach. So she does, sort of pitch in that aspect. So that is there, and again we have to treat the story from the protagonist angle. The protagonist does say, yeah, I mean, that story is there, but what is our job currently? I mean, our job currently was to answer this RTI petition. So
Absolutely.
he kind of skirts that aspect of the love story, I'll say.
So, just to sum up, moving beyond your book, we always have some relationship with the past and how we recreate the impressions coming to us from past makes our present. You have recreated some references of the past for collective, if I say, entertaining and absorbing novel. Any tip on how we should interpret our past?
Um, it's an interesting question. Um, the thing is, what we know about the past cannot be considered as a given or a final. Uh, that means intellectual curiosity has to be welcome all the time. Uh, the perspective and studies done on the past, they may be fair at that point, but if later on, if people have opportunity and have a desire to sort of review the past, they should be welcome, and they should not be prevented from doing so. So that's really my sort of idea about looking at the
Yeah,
past,
I
and th- and then if I may add, and then the past, and then an interesting perspective about the past can really form a very entertaining thread for the people, as to when you look at the past and, hey, I didn't know about this, and how that ties with the entire story in my novel. That could be a very enriching experience to the people.
absolutely. So, what I would sum up, uh, gathering from you, is that we should be open, curious, and that openness and curiosity and the willingness to see various possible options makes life interesting, as well as this novel, Raj Mahal, The Palace of Secrets, very, very interesting. Congratulations, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
Namaste.
very much, Ashok. And once again, thank you to your viewers also.